Mercedes-Benz India has reported a record quarter in terms of sales. I'm talking about the quarter 3 and this year. And to tell us more about what drove, what were the triggers for that record sales, and could quarter 4 follow suit, and what does the next year look like for the overall luxury car market in India? We have with us Mr. Roland Folger, Managing Director and CEO of Mercedes-Benz India. Mr. Folger, thank you for talking to Autocar Professional.
Absolutely.
Record numbers there you shared. In fact, I had to verify whether that number of close to 5,000 was correct, as I heard, and it turned out to be so. And if I'm not wrong, around 2007-8, that was your annual sales in India.
Correct, absolutely correct. No, what we have seen in India over the last 10 years is a series of these events. And I keep telling my people as well and saying, listen, if we have a growth concept and a growth strategy for this country, it in real life means that we have to produce ever best quarters. So that's the normal thing to have, actually, to come back to your concerns that you had. So it's a normal view that we need to get used to. And we strongly believe still in the continuous growth of the Indian marketplace, because the potential is certainly there. We have to be better, faster, smarter than some of our competitors in order to stay ahead of the game.
And what were the kind of key pillars for this, key triggers for this unusual numbers, or is it sustainable to on another note?
Yeah, well, this high level of growth that we have been experienced was a little bit anticipated, because we knew we would come from a lot of disruptive environment that we had seen recently with the introduction of GST, with some of the leftover concerns that everybody had from the demonetization. But actually, when we looked at the overall how this year played out, I think the third quarter was predominantly influenced by people expecting now the prices to go up again with the GST, plus the additional 25% cess that was levied on the luxury industry. I think everybody saw that coming. There was an announcement made, and then people actually came to our showrooms. They were literally standing outside our showroom doors asking to be let in so they could get their vehicles before the new pricing would set in.
After the prices were revised, how does the market, is the market reacting as per expectations?
Well, it is basically back to normal, you might say. See, the big benefit of the announcement that was made in at the end of May, that basically the relevant taxation for luxury cars would effectively come down, that was seen as a highly positive decision by the government initially, and we had very high hopes that that would also boost, at least to a certain extent, our volumes. And I think what we have seen in the third quarter was exactly the result of this reduced basically taxation and the lesser cess. Now, with the new cess from 15 to 25 back up again, we are basically now at a level of pre-GST pricing level. So nothing much has changed for the better. Basically, everybody is back to square one, and it's like, okay, missed opportunity again.
That's what I was coming to. You have always been going by your statements made earlier also. You're of the view that there should be rationalization of taxes in India.
We would wish for
that, and because of that, because of the absence of that, we are losing growth opportunities. That you speak on at a macro level also.
Well, of course, no, if we compare ourselves with other countries in the world, one of the reasons why we seem to never develop our luxury segment appropriately is naturally directly related to the taxation system that we have in India. And that's okay, because the government wants to make a certain amount of taxes, or for whatever reasons that are not completely shared with us. But it's very, very simple from our perspective. If you want to optimize taxes to, for instance, forego a cess completely, would enable the luxury industry to hypothetically double their volumes. Now, doubling of volumes would massively be able to overcompensate the individual car losses. And this is what we hopefully in the midterm can use as an argument also with the taxation people and the tax people, to make them see that if you want to increase your tax income, that is certainly something you could consider. And it's not only the taxation angle. For us, it's also important because the job creation is an issue. Volume rise would lead to significant, even doubling the amount of our people in our plant would include. And it's really sometimes sad to see that these opportunities are not properly picked up and then put into motion as well.
And ever since you came into India, you have been greeted with one announcement or the other,
Yes.
two of which are very key ones made by the government. One was by the Honorable Supreme Court, but talking about demonetization and the GST. Do you think the desired impact have you seen the desired impact, intended result yet, or is it too early?
I think we have been, as you said, very vocal because we're concerned citizen. Let me put it this way. Yeah, we're concerned citizen in a way because we would like to understand where is all of this leading to, and because we believe strongly that these decisions have also been necessary to move India to the next level. And whether it was demonetization or whether it was the introduction of GST, we believe strongly that short-term pains, as we call it, is worth the mid to long-term gains. We yet have to see, and midterm we mean really 2-3 years, than anything else or shorter than that. We really see that there might be, and there will be midterm gains, but we have not seen anything anywhere in our businesses yet.
And the other key topic which the government is very strongly talking about and has made its intent quite clear is electric mobility. And Mercedes-Benz, as of yet, doesn't seem to be convinced by that. I mean, how long would you look at the viability, are testing the viability of that entering the electric mobility space yet? At what stage are you?
Well, let me correct maybe your first assessment of us as a company, because we have just recently announced a massive investment into electric vehicles. We strongly believe in electric vehicles, but there are some concerns from our side that we need to discuss first and we need to understand first. First of all, when we talk about a ramp up, for instance, towards a very demanding target of 100%, naturally that ramp up needs to happen on the basis of investments into infrastructure. It is completely unclear yet at the moment, where does that infrastructure come from? Who is going to pay for it? Who is going to make the investment? Is it expected from us? Will the government do their own bit of that? And with the size of India, you can imagine that we're talking about extremely high numbers that would affect anybody negatively, whether it's government or whether it's individual companies, and that needs to be paid out in a much, much more longer term. The biggest concern from our perspective, however, is more coming from something that a lot of people are not aware of, and that is that when you produce electric energy today, it is in Europe, but it is more so in India, that the way you produce electric energy is rather polluting. At the moment, our own internal calculations are saying it is actually more polluting. So if you use an electric vehicle today and to drive it for 100 kilometers, that would be more polluting than any barrage stage 4 vehicle as a diesel that you might have. BS4 vehicle, even if it's a diesel. Okay. So if you compare these pollution levels, I still fail to see how beyond the localized effect, getting, for instance, the pollution out of a city like Delhi and Mumbai, you would transfer it to somewhere else in the country. And I don't think that this is the full plan that the government is intending to do. So we're waiting now for the further deliberations and discussions along those lines, because I think there's a lot of explaining and a lot of fixing of goalposts to do.
And today you have completed a dozen of new offerings in the Indian market. And I believe we are not going to see any more till the Auto Expo. So this year, speaking of volumes, how much do you expect that kind of 19% growth to continue for the rest of the year?
Well, we would certainly wish that this will continue. At the moment, I think it's still too early to see. Everything is running to our expectations, and actually also it is running to our expectations what we initially had planned for the whole year. Because now once the impact of GST has been leveled to a certain degree, now we need to see how November is coming. We're positively, carefully optimistic that we will achieve our targets and we will get to our goalposts for this year. But it's still too early to see, because November really needs to come back onto a normal level, as we would call it. Yes.
And for the overall segment, 40,000 is an achievable target? Is India likely to cross the 40,000 mark this year?
Well, you might know more about that than we do, because we basically have only our own figures that we can look at. I have not seen anything from the rest of the luxury automotive industry. We believe it's feasible, and you see the new entrants coming into that segment as well, that obviously something positive is developing there, and the segment could grow. But at the moment, what we still see is that the internal competition does not automatically lead to a real increase of the volume per se in the luxury segment. So it's still a waiting game to a certain degree.
lastly, Mr. Folger, I can understand you cannot divulge all the details what you're going to do next year, starting from the Auto Expo. But beyond launching new cars, Mercedes-Benz India, is it likely to take some new steps in 2018? For example, higher levels of localization or something, or maybe a new concept on the retail space? Are you thinking of anything, something new, more than just new offerings in terms of product portfolio?
I think the most noticeable thing will be that on the investments that we do together with our dealers, in line with our overall volume growth, we will definitely keep on investing into the Indian marketplace with the sheer interest to move closer to customers. What we have seen in the past is that customers were sometimes exposed to relatively long driving distances, 200, 300 kilometers. So by moving out into tier 3 and 4 cities and ever getting closer to customers, especially for the concept of after sales, we believe that we have one of the best solutions in the luxury segment in place, and that we will continue along those lines as far as investment goes. We will, in addition to that, also continue in bringing new products or updated products to the Indian marketplace. We have made a commitment also to start bringing in Bharat 6 vehicles, to which degree that will work, we still have to see, but that is also part for our overall long-term strategy. And yes, exciting times ahead of us.
So we can expect the first BS6 Mercedes car in 2018.
Well, we have promised that we will try to do this. It depends naturally also on availability of fuel sometimes. We have some other ideas that we try to apply to the Indian marketplace because we believe it is, as far as environmental impact is concerned, the best solution that you possibly can have at the moment. And the earlier we can bring a technology that we are using already in Europe, as earlier we can bring it into India, I think the better for the country as a whole.
It is, and it indeed it would be. And all the best with your plans, Mr. Folger.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking to you. Always.
Thank you so much, then.
And thank you for watching this interaction with Mr. Roland Folger, MD and CEO of Mercedes-Benz India.